Hello, I'm Linda from Scallywag Services, and I'd like to talk to you about domain names. So, a domain name is just your website address. So, for example, my domain name is scullywag.com. If you go to a website browser and type in scullywag.com, it takes you to my website. If you don't already have a business name or a brand name, you might be thinking, what am I going to do? What will I call myself? What do I want people to type in before they arrive at my website? So a couple of ideas. Try and keep it short and sweet. You don't want it something too long. You want it to be nice and memorable. They do give you about 63 characters, but I mean, nobody wants to type 63 characters. As the meme says, ain't nobody got time for that. Plus, the chances are that they might mistype something. And that's another thing, you don't want something that's a little bit too confusing. Like if it's a word that's really easily misspelt, probably not a good idea. Another thing too, and I was reading this, I was kind of burning up before I came in here to tell you all about it, but homophones. And I was thinking about this, like if you had like hole in one, say a golf course, HOLE, but hole in one is probably gone. So, you might be thinking, well, WHOLE, it's hole, it works. No, it doesn't, because nobody is going to think, oh yeah, I'm going to type in, oh, it's holein1.com, I'm sure, they're not going to think, oh, it was WHOLE, yeah, no, that doesn't work either. It needs to make sense, unless you've actually made a big play in your social media and your advertising that, no, it's spelt this way. Another way is to get keywords in. So for example, I'm a website designer. If I could get, say, something like web design in domain name. So I don't know, brilliant web design or fantastic web design or affordable web design. If I could get that in a domain name, that would probably cost me a lot of money because whoever owns that would be charging big bucks for it. But let's say for argument's sake, I was able to get hold of it. What I could do, and this would be like a really hard choice because I mean, I'm really attached to my domain name because it's very personal to me. It's based on a nickname. But I could either have scullywag.com forwarded to what did I decide the name was? Brilliant Web Design, or I could have Brilliant Web Design forwarded to scullywag.com. So when somebody typed in brilliantwebdesign.com, it actually went to the scullywag.com website, and it would say that up the top. Because the reason we do that is because Google doesn't like duplicate content. If we had two websites with identical content, Google's like, well, what's going on here? Somebody's plagiarizing something, and yeah, Google doesn't want lots of cookie cutter websites with exactly the same stuff, exactly the same text. It's like, these universities are like, nope, this ain't happening. This is not acceptable. So yeah, that's what we do. And there's no reason why you couldn't have several different domain names forwarding to one main domain name. In fact, that's what we do with some of my clients in Australia. Some of them have a .com version of their domain name and a .com.au version. And what we do, we just have the .com.au version go to the .com version. I do have some other clients that only within Australia. They aren't for a worldwide audience. They service just people within Australia. So in that case, we just leave it as the .com.au. Another option too is location. So let's just say, for example, I am a web designer, but I only work within the Brisbane area. That's not the case. I have clients worldwide, but if I did, I might want to try and get Brisbane in there. So it might be Brisbane Web Design. And if that was the case, I would probably get scullywag.com to forward to Brisbane Web Design, because if you're in a specific area, getting that location keyword in there is just brilliant. Oh, I kind of touched on a little bit country level domain names. So for example, in Australia, .com.au is the country level domain name. I think in Canada, it's .ca. I know the UK is .co.uk. I think Germany is .de. It's just different countries. It's their own version. Usually, and I know in Australia at the very least, if you are going to use the .com.au version, you need to have some sort of business registration. So you need at least an ABN in Australia before you can register a .com.au version of a domain name. Another thing you might want to do is check social media handles. So just say I hadn't bought Scullywag, but I decided that I wanted to buy scullywag.com. I might be a little bit disappointed after I bought it to go and look for Scullywag on social media. I might find that, oh, I can't get that handle on Facebook. It's already taken on Instagram. It's already taken on Twitter. So if you're kind of tossing up a couple of different domain names, that might be a deciding factor. Go have a look and see if the social media handles are available, if that's something that's important to you. There is a website that will actually search a whole heap, or it used to. I'll try if I can and dig that up and drop that in the links below if I remember, or if I'm able to find it. Another thing you need to be aware of too is that a domain name is something that needs to be renewed on a regular basis. You may have paid for 1 year's domain name renewal, in which case in a year's time you'll need to pay it again. Or I think they allow you to pay up to 10 years, and usually the longer time period that you're paying for in advance, usually you get a little bit of a discount on the yearly fee. If you do forget to pay, or if you miss the renewal notice, that can cause a lot of problems, because what happens is the domain name, it doesn't just become available again. There's actually what's called a redemption period, which is about between 30 and 40 days, depending on the domain name registrar. And yeah, that can be really painful, because I had one client that missed renewing their domain name, and it had gone past what was considered, what would you call it, a grace period. And they wanted over $100 to allow her to renew that domain name again. And she actually decided to wait them out. You know, it was going into the redemption period. She'd have to wait 30 or 40 days, but then she'd be able to buy it again. The only problem with that is that if somebody else had been waiting around and was aware of this happening, and you can do this, you can look up when the domain name is up for renewal. Some will not have the details there, but a lot of them do. And if they're keeping an eye on that, and they're kind of, okay, that's interesting. And actually, I think there was some case not long ago, I think within Australia, I think our Prime Minister, actually, somebody bought his domain name, which wouldn't have lasted long, because, you know, kind of that comes under trademark and copyright, I suppose. But yeah, there was somebody else too. There was some big company just recently, I forget who it was, but they forgot to renew their domain name, and somebody else snapped it up. You know, people, you just don't know what people are watching and, you know, waiting for. But she was fortunate, my client, she was able to regain her .com version. So now she's got the 2 domain names, and we just have the .com.au version forwarded to the .com. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Yeah, so if it was, please like, comment. If you've got any questions, let me know. And I'll be back next time. Bye.